Radhe Radhe, Dandavat Pranam. Welcome to Shri Radha Vino Bihari Mandir, the newly dressed Radha Vino Bihari. Gopinam Bhavan Shri Vrindavan Dham. If you hang out till the end, then you get to have close-up darshan. Srila Gurudev ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Rupana Guru Guru Varga ki jai, Patit Pavan Shri Nityananda Prabhu ki jai, Prem Purushottam Shachinandana Gaur Hari ki jai, Radha Vino Bihari Ju ki jai, Radha Ramana Ju ki jai, Giriraj Mahārāja ki jai, Harinama Sankirtana ki jai, Hare Krishna Mahamantra ki jai, Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Shri Gaura Premanande Hari Hari Bo. So we will begin with Mangalacharan, page 1 of this book, Shri Gauriya Giti Guccha, Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamshcha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahavanam Raghunatham Vitam Sajivam Sadvetam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahaganam Lalita Shri Nishakhanditamshra Om Ajnanatirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Namo Vishnupadaya Radhikaya Priyatmane Shri Śrīmad Bhaktivedānta Nārāyaṇa Namine Shri Krishna Lila Katane Sudaksham Audarya Madhurya Gunashcha Yuktam Varam Marinyam Purusham Mahantam Nārāyaṇam Tvam Shirasham Namami Tridandinam Bhakta Shiromanim Cha Shri Krishna Padāvridhaika Hridni Chaitanya Lila Vrita Sarasaram Nārāyaṇam Tvam Satatam Prapadye Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Śrīmate Bhaktivedānta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschanya Deshatarine Namo Vishnupadaya Gaura Presthaya Bhutale Shri Śrīmad Bhakti Pragya Keshava Yati Namine Pati Mardya Charitraya Swashri
दुःखितानां च पालिने जीवदुःखे सदरताय श्रीराम प्रेमदायिने नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिसिद्धान्त सरस्वती नामिने श्रीवर्षभारती देवी दयिताय कृपाभये कृष्णसम्बन्धविज्ञान दयिने ब्रह्मवे नमः माधुर्योज्ज्वलप्रेमाढ्य श्रीरूपानुगभक्तिदा श्रीगौरकरुणाशक्ति विग्रहाय नमोऽस्तुते नमस्ते गौरवाणि श्रीमूर्तये दिनहारिणे रूपानुगतिरुद्धाप सिद्धान्तद्वन्द्वहारिणे नमो गौरकिशोराय साक्षात् वैराग्यमूर्तये विप्रलब्धारसम्बोधे पदम्बुजाय ते नमः नमो भक्तिविनोदाय सच्चिदानन्दनामिने गौरशक्तिस्वरूपाय रूपानुगवराय ते गौराविर्भावभूमे स्वं निर्देष्टा सजनप्रिय वैष्णवः सर्वभौम श्री जगन्नाथाय ते नमः वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः नमो महावदन्याय कृष्णप्रेमप्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्णचैतन्य नाम्ने गौरत्विषे नमः हे कृष्ण करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकाकान्त राधाकान्त नमोऽस्तुते तप्तकाञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये जयतां सुरतो मम मन्दं मतिर्गति मत्सर्वस्वपदाम्बोज राधामदनमोहनो दिव्यवृन्दारण्यकल्पद्रुमदं श्रीमद्रत्नागारसिंहासनस्थो श्रीराधा श्रीलगोविन्ददेव प्रेष्ठानिधिसेव्यमानं स्मरामि श्रीमन्द्रसरसारम्भे वंशीवत्ततस्थितः कार्षन्वेणुस्वनैर्गोपीर्गोपीनाथ श्रीयेस्तु नः वृन्दाय तुलसीदेव्यै प्रियायै केशवस्य च कृष्णभक्तिप्रदे देवी सत्यवत्यै नमो नमः पञ्चतत्त्वात्मकं कृष्णं भक्तरूपस्वरूपकं भक्तावतारं भक्ताख्यं नमामि भक्तशक्तिकम् जय श्रीकृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानन्द श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौरभक्तवृन्द चेतो दर्पणमार्जनं भवमहाकामाग्निर्वापनं श्रेयकैरवचन्द्रिकावितरणं विद्यावधूजीवनम् आनन्दं विवर्धनं प्रतिपदं पूर्णावृतास्वादनं सर्वात्मस्नपनं परं विजयते श्रीकृष्ण Krishna Sankirtanam Harer Naam Harer Nameva Kevalam Kalo Naskeva 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 Gatiram Yatha Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Dandava Pranama Vaishnavas. थोड़ा पानी दे दो. No, they have a little one, half one. Thank you. Which Guru Bhajan? Gurudev Kripa Bindu Diya, page 32. Which rag, Sudevi? I can't remember that. What is the tune? Okay. Gurudev Kripa Bindu Diya Koroe Dase Trina Pekhayoti Kripa Bindu Diya Koroe Dase Trina Pekhayoti Sakala Sahane Baladiya Kuru Sakala Sahane Baladiya Kuru Jamare Sprihahina Nijamare Sprihahina Gurudev Kripa Bindu Diya Koroe Dase Trina Pekhayoti Kripa Bindu Diya Koroe Dase Trina Pekhayoti Sokole Soma Korite Shakoti Dehonato Jatha Jato Sokole Soma Korite Shakoti Dehonato Jatha Jato Tabe to gaibo Hari Rama Sukhe Tabe to gaibo Hari Rama Sukhe Aparadha Habe Hato
अपराध हवे हाथ गुरुदेव कृपा बिंदु दिया करो दासे दृढ़ पेखायो गुरुदेव कृपा बिंदु दिया करो दासे दृढ़ पेखायो लोभियाये जानु कृतार्थ होई देनाथो कबे हेलो कृपा लोभियाये जानु कृतार्थ होई देनाथो शक्ति बुद्धि शक्ति बुद्धि आमियाति दी करो मोरे आत्मसात करो मोरे आत्मसात गुरुदेव कृपा बिंदु दिया करो दासी दृढ़ पेखायो যোগ্যতা বিচারে কিছু নাহি পাই তোমার করুণা সার যোগ্যতা বিচারে কিছু নাহি পাই তোমার করুণা সার করুণা না হইলে কাঁদিয়া কাঁদিয়া করুণা না হইলে কাঁদিয়া কাঁদিয়া প্রাণ না রাখিব প্রাণ না রাখিব কৃপা বিন্দু দিয়া করো দাসে তৃণ পেখায় কৃপা বিন্দু দিয়া করো দাসে তৃণ পেখায় গুরুদেব জয় 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 প্রভুপাদ 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 গুরু পরম্পরা 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 श्रील गुरुदेव की जय श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय गुरुपान गौरी गुरुवर्ग की जय श्री गुरु परंपरा की जय Anjali, Anjali. Actually, the devotees from Bengal, they don't say Dina and Hina. They say Din Hin. So whenever they would sing these bhajans, although we grew up singing Dina and Hina, they would sing Amiyati Din. Shakti Buddhi Hin, Amiyati Din. Only sometimes, depending on the syncopation of the tune, the rhythm that they're singing, and maybe the rag, sometimes they would have the inflection where you hear the a little bit at the end. But a lot of the words, they truncate. Especially Hindi. Because the Sanskrit is the same, their script is the same as Sanskrit script. In Hindi, they're used to cutting all of the vowels off the end. As if in Sanskrit they had a virama on everything. So they don't say Krishna. They actually inflect it back. So they say Krishan. They say Ram. Or we might say Rama in Sanskrit. But in Hindi they would say Ram. And so many different words. So if you hear anyone from India, Hindi-speaking person, chanting Sanskrit shloks, they might cut the ends off of a lot of the words. But that's because it's the same script. Right? Mr. Pradeep Koshi? Radhe Radhe. Sometimes, like we would hear our Srila Prabhupada, when he would be speaking, he would say Nārāyaṇa. But when we say our Guru Dev's name, right, we're not saying Guru Deva unless we're saying Jaya Guru Deva, Jaya Guru Deva. Otherwise, Jaya Jaya Guru Dev. So we don't pronounce the A. And we say Srila Bhaktivedānta Nārāyaṇa Gosvāmī Mahārāja. So we don't pronounce the at the end of Mahārāja. And we don't pronounce the at the end of Nārayan when we're saying his name. Depends on the dialect where you're from. And there are many different pronunciations for Krishna. When Gurudev gave me Harinam, he said Krishna. In other places I've heard them say Krishna. And in Orissa, because the Re, what we would say Re, they read that Sanskrit Re as Ru. So they say Krishna. But it doesn't seem that Krishna is at all bothered by the differences in pronunciation. The only thing that really attracts him is love and affection. So we should endeavor to learn it, but much more than that, by a million times, to give one particle of affection, love and affection to Krishna. Yes, Krishna. And also there's Krishna. And then the American pronunciation, the Italian pronunciation, right? We say in Sanskrit, Gadadhara. And in Hindi it's Gadadhar. And in Italian it's Garadara. So it depends on where you're from. Right? Garadara Pandita. Okay. Kirupe Payebo Seva Mui Durachar, page 45, by Srila Narottam Das Thakur. Kirupe Paibo Seva Mui Duracharo Shri Guru Vaishnaveti Nahoiru Yamaro Kirupe Paibo Seva Mui Duracharo Shri Guru Vaishnaveti Nahoiru Yamaro.
অশেষ মায়াতে মগ্ন হইল অশেষ মায়াতে মগ্ন হইল বৈষ্ণবেতে মাত্র রতিনা জন্মিল বৈষ্ণবেতে মাত্র রতিনা জন্মিল বিষয়ে ভুলিয়া হইলু দেবানী বিষয়ে ভুলিয়া অন্ধ হইলু দেবানিশি গলে ফাঁস দিতে ফিরে মায়া সে পিশাচি গলে ফাঁস দিতে ফিরে মায়া সে পিশাচি ইহারে করিয়া জয় চারানো না যায় ইহারে করিয়া জয় চারানো যায় সাধু কৃপা বিনা নাহি কো साधु कृपा बिना नहीं को उपाय अदोष दर्शी प्रभो पतित उद्धारो अदोष दर्शी प्रभो पतित उद्धारो এবারো নরোত্তমে করহ নিস্তার এবারো নরোত্তমে করহ নিস্তার কি রূপে পাইব সেবা ভূমি দুরাচার বৈষ্ণবেরতি না হইল আমার কি রূপে পাইব সেবা ভূমি দুরাচার শ্রী গুরু বৈষ্ণবেরতি না হইল আমার এবারো করহ নিস্তার এবারো নরোত্তমে করহ নিস্তার এবারো অধামে করহ নিস্তার এবারো অধামে वैष्णव ठाकुर जय वैष्णव ठाकुर 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 प्रभु कृपा करो मोरे दया करो प्रभु कृपा करो मोरे दया करो प्रभु कृपा करो मोरे দয়া করো প্রভু কৃপা করো মোরে দয়া করো all Vaishnava Thakurs ki jai. So I just want to explain something very quickly to you. So I came to the last verse, and then as we usually do, I went back to the first verse. But then I saw the meaning of the last verse, and then I saw the meaning of the first verse. The last verse is a prayer You never see the fault in others, and you are the savior of the fallen. Now please deliver this Narottam Das. And the first verse is saying, how can a wicked person like me ever attain devotional service? I have not developed any attachment to Sri Guru and the Vaishnavas. So as we've told before, it's not always good to end on the woe is me. It's usually good to end on the prayerful mood. Woe is me means I'm so low, I'm so fallen, but there's a prayer in the last one. And so from the first line, I went down to the very last line at the very end. E baro narottamai korohonishtar. Now please deliver this Narottam Das. And what I learned, being in the association of the Vaishnavas from Bengal, namely, mostly, Krishna Das Prabhu, Tamal Krishna Prabhu, and back in the day, Bhaktivedānta Prabhu and Bhaktivedānta Sadhu Mahārāja from Devananda Gauriya back in the day. They would also make it personal. So, E baro, just now, this time, E adhame, means this lowly and fallen person, koroho nishtar, please deliver. So they would tag on that and make it personal, that now I'm offering myself into this prayer as well. Please manifest this mood in my heart. So I just wanted to share with you, since it wasn't there, if you were following along. By the way, if you don't have the songbook, Jiva Pavana Prabhu very kindly and mercifully posts the bhajans in the comment section of the thread. So just scroll to the most recent post by Jiva Pavana Prabhu, and there you will find that divine treasure. I hope. So sometimes instead of saying Narottam Das, please deliver this fallen Narottam Das, like our Gurudev didn't like to hear at Mangal Arti time, although our Param Gurudev wrote the Mangal Arti bhajan, Mangala Shri Guru Gora Mangala Murati, Mangala Shri Radha Krishna Jugala Piriti. In the very end, he writes, Abhagya Keshava Kahe Nama Sankirtan. Abhagya means this very unfortunate Keshava is now singing this Shri Nam Sankirtan. So first thing in the morning, our Gurudev didn't like to hear his Guru referring to himself or being referred to as this unfortunate person. So, Abhagya, this is what he wrote, Param Gurudev Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj. But then you would hear that they would sing Shri Keshava Dasa Kohe, or Shri Keshaber Dasa Kohe, depending. Shri Keshav Das can refer to our Param Gurudev, or Shri Keshaber Das, when it has ER at the end. In Bengali, that is the possessive particle. In other words, in like an apostrophe S, possessive, means his servants. Shri Keshaver Dasa Kohe Nama Sankirtan, that we are chanting Nam Sankirtan. So it depends also on the individual mood of the person who is calling out that bhajan. In general, we don't adjust them, but for something like that, it's not actually an adjustment to the bhajan, it's just personalizing that prayer. And so I learned that for many years sitting next to Krishna Das Prabhu, Tamal Krishna Prabhu. Gurudev told me to learn from Krishna Das Prabhu. So I sat next to him for many years. I can't call it name dropping. These personalities were my friends and my service partners. So I don't even know why or how Gurudev allowed me to be there next to them. Their qualification far exceeded mine by a million miles. But anyhow, Gurudev gave me that service. Your seva is to always be here in Kirtan, so somehow he wanted to teach me something. And then, of course, as I told you previously, he told me I should learn to sing like Krishna Das. And then he told Sudevi, you should learn to sing like me. And I was like, hey, wait a second. So, here's another example. Krishna Das is Krishna Das, but Gurudev is Gurudev. So, maybe one day I will also be able to learn to sing like Gurudev. Now we will call out for the mercy and grace of Śrīla Rupa Gosvāmī. Shuniyachi Sadhumuke Bole Sarvajan, page 51 by Śrīla Narottam Das Thakur. Shuniyachi sadhu mukhe bole sarvo jana. Shuniyachi sadhu mukhe bole sarvo jana. Shri Rupa Kripayo mile Jugala charana. Shri Rupa Kripayo mile Jugala charana. Ha ha Prabhu Sanatana Gaura Parikrama. Ha ha Prabhu Sanatana Gaura Parikrama. Save mili vancha purno Save mili vancha purno koro hoyamaru. Shri Rupero Kripajeno Yama Prati ho. Shri Rupero Kripajeno Ama Prati ho. Se podo yashrayo jana se mahasho. Se podo yashrayo jana se mahasho. Prabhu lokanato kave sangelo ya jabe. Prabhu lokanato kave sangelo ya jabe. Shri Rupero pado padme more samarpide. Shri Rupero pado padme more samarpide. Enoki horive noro narma sakhi gane. Enoki horive noro narma sakhi gane. Anugatam narottame koribe shasane. Anugatam Gosvāmī Prabhu Rupa Gosvāmī O Rupa Sanatan Jai Rupa Sanatan Rupa Sanatan Jai Rupa Sanatan Jai Rupa Sanatan Jai Rupa Sanatan Rupa Sanatan Jai Rupa Sanatan. Shri Rupa Gosvāmī Prabhu ki jai, Śrī Sanātana Gosvāmī Pād ki jai, Shri Shad Gosvāmī Prabhu ki jai, Rūpānuga Guru Varga ki jai. Devādi Deva Gaura Chandra Gauridāsa Mandire. Page 85 in our songbook. It's not a songbook. It is a heart book. It is the manifestation of the hearts of all of these wonderful Vaishnava Acharyas. So we can't call it a song. These days, people write songs with tag words in them which they know make money. There's a study done how people have studied different music and know which note progressions are going to be more popular. And they've matched hundreds of songs with those same progressions. And sure enough, that's the popular thing. It catches on, it makes money. There are professional songwriters out there who write words to be catchy. But what is the purpose? Kanaka, to make money. Kamani, to increase one's sense gratification. Pratishta, to increase one's fame, position, power, name. These are not in the category of those kinds of songs. These have manifested from the heightened sense of transcendental emotion, manifesting from the hearts of our Guru Varga. And therefore they can't just be called a song. Songbook is not exactly the right word. That's why I called it heart book. Actually, it's a collection of their moods, of their own bhajan, their own practice, which they have mercifully, causelessly, mercifully shared with us for our benefit, so that we will know what to pray and how to pray. Without them showing us the way, guiding us with their brilliant light, we may take the path of praying for relief from our material suffering, praying for any kind of material benediction, praying for any kind of sense gratification, but not praying properly. And by those prayers, which have mundane sentiments in them, very easily and quite readily, Krishna may fulfill those desires. So taking shelter of these personalities and their moods of prayer, we pray to them, please manifest your prayer, your bhajan in my heart. And then we sing, praying to make that mood our own, but also acknowledging that personality who has manifested or shared their own practice of bhakti, that is bhajan, with us. And that the fact that some of it has been manifested externally on paper in the form of poetry. Traditionally, songs weren't written for popularity like they were now, but if anyone has ever been in love, and I've said it before, but it's just what happens, something happens in the heart. When you're feeling upset or anger or any sense of heightened emotion, it manifests sometimes as poetry and maybe even tunes. These personalities also are experiencing heightened senses of transcendental emotion, and it is manifesting as such. So we're very fortunate extremely fortunate to be able to receive these manifestations of their hearts in the form of these poems, which is part of their bhajan. Page 85, Devadi Deva Gaurachandra Gauridasa Mandire. Sudevi, can you arrange for me to have some Kantabhati? It's on that marble counter over here.
I certainly can arrange it.
Intermission. We're doing a advertisement. This is Yogi Kārtika. All of the singers, Krishna Das, Tamal, all of the ones at Radharaman, Tarun Krishna, everyone, they used to put their hands out when I would take one of these. And it's very small, and it has a kind of camphor-y flavor, but it keeps your throat lubricated and enables you to sing for a longer time without too much disturbance. So it's Ayurvedic medicine with about 20 different ingredients, and I am not getting paid for this advertisement. It just works really well. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. I sent it to her. 6B201. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Devadi Devo Gaurachandra Gauridasa Mandire Devadi Deva Gaurachandra Gauridasa Mandire Nityananda Sange Gaura Ambika Devi Hare Nityananda Sange Gaura Ambika Devi Hare Devadi Deva Gaurachandra Gauridasa Mandire Devadi Deva Gaurachandra Gauridasa Mandire Lakshmi Sevya Sadore Virinchi Sevya Pado Pado Lakshmi Sevya Sadore Devadi Deva Gora Chandra Gori Dasa Mandire Devadi Deva Gora Chandra Gori Dasa Mandire Tapta Heva Anga Kanti Prato Yorunayam Bare Tapta Heva Anga Kanti Prato Yorunayam Bare Radhikanurago Premo Bhakti Vansha Jai Kore Radhikanurago Premo Bhakti Vansha Jai Kore Devadi Deva Gora Chandra Gori Dasa Mandire Devadi Deva Gora Chandra Gori Dasa Mandire Shachi Suta Gora Chandra Anandito Yantare Shachi Suta Gora Chandra Anandito Yantare Ashanda Khanda Nityananda Sange Range Vihare Ashanda Khanda Nityananda Sange Range Vihare Devadi Deva Gora Chandra Gori Dasa Mandire Devadi Deva Gora Chandra Gori Dasa Mandire Nityananda Gora Chandra Gori Dasa Mandire Nityananda Gora Chandra Gori Dasa Mandire Gori Dasa Karto Yashu Sarva Jiva Udhare Gori Dasa Karto Yashu Sarva Jiva Udhare Devadi Deva Gora Chandra Gori Dasa Mandire Devadi Deva Gora Chandra Gori Dasa Mandire Jaya Nitai Jaya Go Jaya Nitai Jaya Go Jaya Nitai Jaya Go Jaya Nitai Jaya Go Nitai Gaurango, Nitai Gaurango Jai, Nitai Gaurango, Nitai Gaurango Jai, Nitai Gaurango. Patit Pavan Shri Nityananda Prabhu ki jai, Prem Purushottam Sachinandana Gaura Hari ki jai. Sundara Lala Sachira Dulala Nachata Shri Hari Kirtaname. That's a bhajan in Hindi, very beautiful and sweet, glorifying Shri Sachinandan Gaura Hari. Page 361 in our Sundara Lala Shachira Dulala Nachata Shri Hari Kirtan mein. Sundara Lala Shachira Dulala Nachata Shri Hari Kirtan mein. Nachata Shri Hari Kirtan mein, नाचत श्री हरि कीर्तन में, नाचत श्री हरि कीर्तन में, नाचत श्री हरि कीर्तन में। सुंदर लाला शचिर दुलाला, नाचत श्री हरि कीर्तन में। सुंदर लाला शचिर दुलाला, नाचत श्री हरि कीर्तन में, 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 नाचत श्री हरि कीर्तन में। सुंदर लाला शचिर दुलाला, नाचत श्री हरि कीर्तन में। सुंदर लाला शचिर दुलाला, नाचत श्री हरि कीर्तन में। भाले चंदन तिलक मनोहरो, भाले चंदन तिलक मनोहर, अलका शोभे कपोलन में, अलका शोभे कपोलन में। सुंदर लाला शचिर दुलाला, नाचत श्री हरि कीर्तन में। सुंदर लाला शचिर दुलाला, नाचत श्री हरि कीर्तन में। शिरे चूरा दर्शनिराले, शिरे चूरा दर्शनिराले, वन्न फुलमाला हिया परदोले, वन फुलमाला हिया परदोले। पहिरन पीत पतांबर शोभे, पहिरन पीत पतांबर शोभे, नूपुर रुंझुरु चरणन में, नूपुर रुंझुरु चरणन में। नाम कोई गावत है हरि गुणगान मृदंग ताला मधुर रसाला मृदंग ताला मधुर रसाला कोई गावत है रंगनों में कोई गावत है रंगनों में सुंदर लाला शचिर दुलाला नाचत श्री हरि कीर्तनों में सुंदर लाला शचिर दुलाला नाचत श्री हरि कीर्तनों में नाचत श्री हरि कीर्तनों में नाचत श्री हरि कीर्तन में नाचत श्री हरि कीर्तन में नाचत श्री हरि कीर्तन में सुंदर लाला शचिर दुलाला नाचत श्री हरि कीर्तन में सुंदर लाला शचिर दुलाला नाचत श्री हरि कीर्तन में ओ शचीनंदन जय गौर हरि जय शचीनंदन जय गौर हरि जय शचीनंदन जय गौर हरि शचीनंदन जय गौर हरि गौर हे 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 प्रेम पुरुषोत्तम शचिनंदन गौर हरि की जय वंदे गिरिवरधर पद कमलम Page 346 by Sri Govinda Das, Vande Girivara Dhara Pada Kamalam. Vande Girivara Dhara Pada Kamalam 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 Kamalakaro Kama Lanchitra Mahalam Kamalakaro Kama Lanchitra Mahalam Vande Girivara Dhara Pada Kamalam Vande Girivara Dhara Pada Kamalam Vaja Vajraṅkuṣam Paṅkajam Kalitam Vaja Vajraṅkuṣam Paṅkajam Kalitam Brajavanita Kujo Kumkumalayitam Brajavanita Kujo Kumkumalayitam Page 342 by Sri Ramananda Kalayati Nayanam.
Kalayati nayanam dishi dishi varitam pankajaiva mridu maruta chalitam kalayati Deshi deshi varitam pankajaiva mridu maruta chalitam elivipinam pravishati radha Pravishati radha Pratipada samudira Manasijabadha Pratipada Samuditam Manasijabadha Kalayati Dishide Shivanitam Pankajaiva Mridu Marupachalikam Kalayati Nayanam Dishide Shivanitam Pankajaiva Mridu Marupachalikam Dinidadhati Mridu Mantarapadam Dinidadhati Mridu Mantarapadam Rachayati Kunjaro Bhatimanuvadam Rachayati Kunjaro Bhatimanuvadam Kalayati Nayanam Dishide Shivanitam Pankajaiva Mridu Marupachalikam Kalayati Nayanam Dishide Shivanitam Pankajaiva Mridu Marupachalikam Janayati Rudra Gajadhipamuditam Janayati Rudra Gajadhipamuditam Ramanandarayu Kavivaditam Ramanandarayu Kavivaditam Kalayati Nayanam Dishide Shivanitam Pankajaiva Mridu Marupachalikam Kalayati Nayanam Dishide Shivanitam Pankajaiva Mridu Marupachalikam Radhe Jaya Radhe Jaya Radhe Jai Shri Radhe Jaya Radhe Jaya Radhe Jaya Radhe Jai Shri Radhe Jaya Radhe Jai Krishna Jaya Radhe Jaya Krishna Jaya Radhe Jaya Krishna Jaya Radhe Jai Krishna Vrishabhananandri Srimati Radharani ki Jai. As I was singing this bhajan, I looked down, of course, but I was reading also the meaning. Radha's eyes glance in every direction, appearing like a lotus moving in a gentle breeze. There were certain times when I felt like
maybe I should go back into it and do a double beat, but everything about this is her steps are slow and gentle, lotus moving in a gentle breeze, and even her every step is being obstructed like a graceful gait of an elephant. So, trying to follow the mood of the bhajan. But when I saw this appearing like a lotus moving in a gentle breeze, today, you will see it close up later, but Thakurji's flowers are lotus petals. So, it made me smile. Yes, Devaki, you asked for that one and I figured you probably really like it a lot, so it is a very sweet bhajan. And of course by Śrī Ramananda. It's so beautiful. Now, Sudevi, we're not continuing Damodarāṣṭakam until maybe tomorrow, right? Okay. If we do continue Damodarāṣṭakam, we will sing it, but for now we will just, because we still have many persons to discuss from yesterday, personalities. Actually, they are persons with their personalities. So now we will call out with the mantra which awards and grants Prem Atma. That is Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. Today Kumbh Mela began and it's being hosted in Vrindavan this year. Different dhams host it at different times. So sometimes it's in Prayag, the conjunction of Ganga, Jamuna, Saraswati. Sometimes it's in different locations. This time it's in Vrindavan. Just down past Keshi Ghat, there's a massive area of Jamuna sand, which is capable of hosting thousands or millions of people. And Vrindavan is such that it can do that also. How many cows does Nanda Baba have? And how many cows does Rishabhanu Maharaj have? You have to write it down. And then you will get something like, I don't know, Amrita Keli. It's a special kind of kheer. Only 10,000? Probably more. Very good. 9 lakhs for Nanda Baba. How many for Rishabhanu Maharaj? Very good, Krishna Kripa. I know, Sudevi did it out loud. Oh, you did? Good, yeah, but he didn't see it. Okay. So if someone's wealth is measured by how many cows they have, then who's technically in the superior position? That's another question. Rishabhanu Maharaj or Nanda Maharaj? And then the trick question which follows. Then technically who's in the superior position? Srimati Radhika or Krishna? I'm not able to see everything as it's popping up as fast. So this microphone is blocking it. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama,
Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Gaur Hari Bol 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 Jai Gurudev 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 Jai Prabhupada 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 Jai Prabhupada 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 Shri Shri Gaur Premanande
Śrīla Gurudeva ki jai, Śrīla Prabhupada ki jai, Rupananga Gauri Guru Varga ki jai, Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Gaura Premanande Hari Hari. For those of you who know the name of that rag, that is Shri Varanjani. Krishna Kripa, who's here, sings a very beautiful version of that. I think the first time I heard that tune, I must have been 7 or 8 years old. Vyasaki had come to India and he sang that. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. The point of the rag is to bring out the mood to weep for Krishna. And rags come from their source, which is Krishna, Srimati Radhika, and the gopis. And it's interesting that it is called rag because rag, what does rag mean? Rag is the mood of loving attachment that Krishna's eternal associates have for him and he also has for them. So from those moods of attachment manifest these different tunes. And the tunes are meant to also evoke a mood. There's a different rag for every 15 minutes of the day. And depending on the times of the day, in order to enhance those moods, which flow with the nature of Krishna's pastimes and also with nature itself, then we could dovetail that toward the service of Krishna. Our Gurudev sang higher than anybody. She said Vyasaki always sings high, but our Gurudev sang so high that others couldn't follow. Maybe Krishna Das. You know, when you hear that take, Radhe Radhe Govinda.
Everyone's struggling.
Everyone is struggling, but his voice was so powerful. Gurave Gaura Chandraya Radhikaya Tadale Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktāya Tad Bhaktāya Namo Namaha Ajnana Timirandhasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Nama Om Vishnupadaya Radhikaya Priyatmane Shri Śrīmad Bhaktivedānta Nārāyaṇa Namine Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedānta Swami Nitya Namine Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanang Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayate Giring Yat Kripatamaham Vande Shri Gurung Dinatarinam. First of all, I offer my Dandava Pranam thousands of times in the dust of the lotus feet of our beloved Gurudev, Nitya Lila Pravishta Vishnupar, Ashto Tarshata Shri Śrīmad Bhaktivedānta Nārāyaṇa Gosvāmī Mahārāja. In the same thousands of Dandava Pranam, in the dust of the lotus feet of Nitya Lila Pravishta Vishnupar, Ashto Tarshata Shri Śrīmad Bhaktivedānta Swami Śrīla Prabhupada, and to all of our Rupanuga Gauriya Guru Varga, and to all Vaishnavas past, present, and future, including all of you who are present with us today, I offer my Dandavat Pranam.
Dandavat Pranam, dear Vaishnavas. Radhe 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 Shyam.
Radhe Shyam. So today we will continue with the sharing of the glorifications of those divine personalities whose day, whose day we were honoring yesterday. So that included Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Srila Raghunath Das Goswami, Pundarik Vidyanidhi, Raghunandan Thakur, Vishnu Priya Devi, Saraswati, Vasant Panchami, Bhakti Kamal Govinda Goswami Maharaj, and so many others. So it's actually not enough time in one day to properly say anything about even one of those personalities whose glories are unlimited. Each personality has unlimited glories. Anyhow, due to our limited capacity, we might be able to say what we have remembered or heard within a couple of days. So that is only due to our own flaw. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada was asked a question because he was publishing a daily newspaper, the Dainik, Nadia Prakash, daily Nadia Prakash, and then a weekly one, then a twice monthly one, then every 6 months and a yearly one. I don't think he ever did a yearly one. It was much more often than that. And someone asked him, don't you think you're going to run out of information to publish? And he said, according to all transcendental revealed scriptures, the entire material creation is only a quarter of the entire creation, which means 3/4, and that's actually a big limitation to say such a thing. But anyhow, the idea is given that 3/4 is all transcendental. He said in the material world, so many periodicals are being published every single day.
Newspapers every day.
Newspapers in every town, in every village, every single day. And nowadays, even more often than every day, constantly at your fingertips. But it's only considered 1/4. So what to speak of at every day? He said every minute and every moment we can bring new and new transcendental information because it is always unlimited and always descending through those personalities. So there is no end or no limit to the glories of Krishna or his pure devotees. Even Baladev Prabhu, in the form of an Antashesha with his unlimited mouths, has been glorifying Krishna since time without beginning, and he feels inadequate. He feels that I cannot even begin to scratch the surface of Krishna's glories. So we never need to worry about running out of anything to say. As long as we begin or continue to go more and more deeply into Nam Bhajan, holding on tightly to the lotus feet of Sri Guru and the Vaishnavas, then more and more transcendental nectar will manifest from them. And as they fill us up, Pujapad Ban Mahārāja said, what is Kirtan? Kirtan is when you've received so much Shravan, you've heard so much, and it fills up more and more until it begins to spill out of your mouth. Then that is Kirtan. I thought that was quite sweet. So, every minute and every moment. So we will continue with the glorifications from yesterday with our very own Sudevi. Okay, here she comes. Radhe Radhe. I had to introduce you. Hare Krishna. Hare. Old man.
Okay, Dandavat Pranam, dear Vaishnavas. Thank you so much for again giving me a chance and an opportunity to remember the glories of these transcendental and most exalted Vaishnavas. Today, I am going to try to remember something about Pundarik Vidyanidhi, very near and dear associate of Sri Krishna and Sri Krishna Chaitanya. So, yesterday we spoke so much about the Rasa Leela pastime in Govardhan, and we got to speak about Bhakti Kama Govinda Maharaj and Sri Vishnu Priya Devi. And time ran out so quick. So I have to be not too long because Kishori Mohan Prabhu will want to say something about Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. Last night when we finished our program here, we ran to Radha Gokulananda Mandir and had darshan there of Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's Samadhi Mandir at Radha Gokulananda Temple, and also the Samadhi, the Pushpa Samadhi of Sri Narottam Das Thakur and the Samadhi of Lokanath Das Thakur. And then we got to have darshan of Radha Gokulananda Vinod Bihari, so it was very beautiful, auspicious. And then we went to see Gopal Bhatta Goswami's Samadhi Mandir, but Radharamanji was closed. So, anyway, we were so inspired by remembering the beautiful pastimes of these Vaishnavas. We couldn't sit still. We thought, we're here in Vrindavan, what are we doing in this room? And even though it was after 8:30 in the evening, and usually everything is quite closed, especially now since there's been the pandemic and all of that, they're very careful about how many they let in and this and that in the temples. So, but it was so nice to go. So Pundarik Vidyanidhi is a very near and dear associate of Śrī Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. One time, Śrī Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was in Navadvip, and while he was there, he was remembering Pundarik Vidyanidhi, and he started to call out, "Oh, my friend, my friend." And then he started to say, "Bap, Bap, my father, I have been separated from you for so long. Where are you? Where are you? Oh, Father, Father." And the devotees were thinking, who's Pundarik? Pundarik is the name of Krishna. Maybe he's feeling some transcendental separation from Krishna. And Mahaprabhu began to explain to them that a very near and dear associate to his heart was coming to Navadvip. Srila Bhaktivedānta Saraswati Thakur explains that actually Pundarik Vidyanidhi wasn't necessarily on his way to Navadvip, but because Mahaprabhu was calling for him, naturally within his heart an eagerness came, I must immediately go to Navadvip, because of the pulling of the heart of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu of Nimai Pandit. So Pundarik Vidyanidhi came to Navadvip Dham. There he was staying quite secretly, and he wasn't known to very many. Actually, the glories of Pundarik Vidyanidhi are quite astonishing. We hear, even in one of the bhajans that we sing almost daily, that so many sinners, us, we go to the holy dham, to Jamuna or to the Ganga, to go and to bathe and to relieve ourselves of these sins. And it is said that when Pundarik Vidyanidhi would see this, it would break his heart. This is the water coming from the lotus feet of the Lord. And he would see people washing their mouth out and spitting the water back into the Ganga. They would be washing their hair and their clothes. And he would become very disturbed in his heart. This is so sacred. This is only for worshiping the Lord, and people are bathing in such a way without care. Pundarik Vidyanidhi wouldn't even bathe in the Ganga because he didn't want his feet to touch that. It is the Charnamrita of the Lord. So he didn't want to touch it with his feet. So it is said also, because it hurt his heart so much to see the way Ganga Devi was being disrespected and not used properly for worship, that he would only come in the late evening to the Ganga to have darshan there, and he would take some water, and then he would drink that water, and only after drinking the water would he begin to do his seva to Thakurji. Then he would begin to glorify the Lord after purifying his mouth and his body with Ganga Jal. I thought that was so beautiful, how his mood was, this is from the Lord and of the Lord, and it is only meant to be utilized for the seva of the Lord. When you go to Radhakund, you see even there people washing their clothes and doing so much. But anyway, everywhere in Vrindavan is so transcendental. Where can you go? In all of Braj, everything is transcendental. Everything is meant for the service of Krishna. You have to wash your clothes somewhere. But that mood, that beauty, and that he would only go in the evening so it wouldn't upset his heart. This is also something of a lesson when we see things, especially in the holy dham, that disturb us, that it's not really for us to go and to see and to try to fight and to argue about. But most of the time, when there are things that we can't actually change, it's better not to see them and not to contemplate them and not to start to make any kind of offense, because we don't know the hearts of others. Having said that, when Pundarik Vidyanidhi came to Navadvip Dham, only a couple of people knew that he had arrived. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu knew, and Mukunda knew, and I think Vasudev Datta knew. They were very close, Mukunda and Vasudev, and they knew, and they also knew the glories of Pundarik Vidyanidhi. Most people didn't understand him. They didn't know who he was. So that day that they knew he arrived, Mukunda went to his very near and dear person. When anything would come into his life, whenever he had any news, whenever he wanted to share his heart, he would immediately share that with Sri Gadadhar Pandit. So he knew that a pure devotee had come to Navadvip. So he went to Gadadhar Pandit and he said, "Oh Gadadhar, do you want to meet a pure devotee? Do you want to see that kind of personality?" Immediately within his heart, a very happy greed came. "Yes, of course, I want to see a pure devotee." And Mukunda said, "The only thing I'm asking is that because I'm bringing you to him, that you should always see me as your servant, as your near and dear. That is the price I want you to pay, that you will always keep me." So then, Mukunda brought Gadadhar Pandit to meet Pundarik Vidyanidhi. Going there, immediately they offered their pranam, and Pundarik Vidyanidhi was sitting on a very beautiful bed. Immediately he began to ask about Gadadhar Pandit. "Oh, who is he? Who is his father?" And Mukunda began to explain, "Oh, his father is," what's his father's name? Madhva Ghosh, I believe. And he's from a very devotional family setting. He only associates with Vaishnavas, and he is so renounced and good-hearted. So he began to introduce Gadadhar Pandit. And at the time, Pundarik Vidyanidhi was smiling and very happy to meet him. But Gadadhar Pandit was kind of looking around at this scene. He saw that Pundarik Vidyanidhi was on a bed that was it was covered in like red silk. He had all of these pillows around him that were made of silk. He was being fanned by 2 or 3 servants with peacock fans. His hair was oiled with amalaki oil, and he had a nice hairstyle. Around him were all kinds of big and small pots of gold with all different kinds of substances in it. And one very big pot was next to him with pan pre-prepared. He had 2 spittoons on either side of him, and also there were 2 mirrors on either side of him. And as he was chewing pan and his lips were becoming reddish with that pan, he would look in the mirror at either side and start to smile and laugh. Gadadhar Pandit was looking at him thinking, "I don't understand. Look at his lavish dress. He doesn't look like a Vaishnava. He looks like a prince." I think it was Srila Bhaktivedānta Saraswati Thakur. He explained that his body was glowing due to his devotion to the Lord. But any ordinary person that saw him would think that he was just a high-class person. Those who had the eyes to see would see that he was glowing. Now, of course, Gadadhar Pandit, who is he? He is Srimati Radhika, come here to actually teach Mahaprabhu Radha Bhav. But for the purpose of teaching us how we should not meet someone and immediately size them up and think we understand their heart and who they are on the path to God, on the path to devotion. We shouldn't have that kind of a mood upon meeting someone. We know that first impressions are everything. We think that as soon as we look at someone, we know. But Kishori Mohan Prabhu is always saying, if Śrīdāmodara Gosvāmī were to come into the assembly and we were all sitting downstairs in front of Thakurji, and he was naked, covered in dust, and he had matted locks, and boys were throwing things at him and laughing at him, what would we do? Hey, go and shower, put some clothes on, maybe cut your hair, put a shika. We'd have all these things to do to him, but none of those personalities that understood who he was, none of them thought like this. They were thinking, oh, now Shukadeva has come and we will hear Śrīmad Bhagavatam. So Gadadhar Pandit is teaching us through this example. We should always understand that all of those who are in these leelas of the Lord, they're not ordinary. Just like Arjuna is not overcome by panic attacks. Actually, he did that for all of us, so that Krishna could give us Bhagavad Gita. So, upon seeing this, some doubt rose in Gadadhar Pandit's heart, and he thought, what kind of a materialistic Vaishnava is this? I don't understand. Because naturally, Gadadhar Pandit was so renounced. He couldn't really understand this kind of personality. But immediately, Mukunda could see, oh, he is looking at him externally. He doesn't understand who he is. So, to rid Gadadhar Pandit of this doubt, he began to call out one shloka from Śrīmad Bhagavatam telling about the mercy of Krishna. Oh, how merciful is my Lord Krishna, that Putana, the witch, came to Krishna to kill him. But because she offered her breast milk, that witch who was always looking to suck the blood of children, to kill children, and came to kill Krishna, but because she offered her own breast to Krishna, he gave her the eternal position as a milkmaid, as like a mother in Goloka Vrindavan. How can I even imagine a more merciful Lord? And hearing this verse, through the voice of Mukunda, we know that even Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he would hear Mukunda sing, he would lose all kinds of external consciousness. One time he even fell in a well that turned into like butter, and Mahaprabhu didn't get hurt. But because of Mukunda singing, he would forget everything. And in the same way, when Pundarik Vidyanidhi heard this beautiful verse sung by Mukunda, he immediately went into a deep trance. He started to roar very loudly, and all Astasattvic bhavs were present on his body. He was fainting, he was roaring, his hairs were standing on end, he was weeping, and he was thrashing everything here and there. Vrindavan Das Thakur says, what happened to those precious pots of gold holding all those substances? He was thrashing around and throwing himself on the ground. Those pots were being scattered everywhere. What happened to that beautiful bed he was sitting on with all of those silk cushions? He kicked them and they went everywhere. What happened to that beautiful cloth that he was wearing? He was ripping it to shreds and he was screaming, go on, bolo, 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 don't stop. How he was tasting Śrīmad Bhagavatam. Shri Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said, even 10 servants couldn't hold him down. He was in such ecstatic bliss, calling out to Krishna, and Gadadhar Pandit was completely astonished. Immediately he understood, I have made aparad. I looked at him as being a material person, and actually he is completely full of bhav and praying for the Supreme Lord. It is said that he was actually internally serving Sri Radha and Krishna at that time for 6 hours. He was in a deep samadhi. He was in deep trance, and he didn't come back to external consciousness for 6 hours. We know something about that, like with Srila Gaura Govinda Goswami Maharaj. He went into a trance for many, many months. And it took Krishnadas Babaji Maharaj to tell all the devotees he's okay. He's in bhav. He's experiencing bhav. Just take care of him. He doesn't need any kind of external doctor. So Mukunda and Gadadhar Pandit were sitting there, and Gadadhar Pandit began to cry, and he told Mukunda, I made an offense, and because you are so kind and merciful, you knew my heart and you called out this verse just to save me. But now that I have experienced this and I have seen who he really is, I have understood something. Everyone who wants to follow any kind of path, they need a teacher. And I know that all of those who are advancing on the path of love of Krishna, they are under the guidance of a guru, of a transcendental personality. I also want this. So I want to take this personality, Pundarik Vidyanidhi, as my guru. Mukunda became so happy. He said, yes, I agree. This is a very good thing. Gadadhar Pandit was thinking that if I surrender to him and I melt his heart to such an extent through service and also through understanding who he is, that his heart will melt and I will be rid of this aparad. So after some time, the servants brought Pundarik Vidyanidhi back to external consciousness. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said his name was actually Pundarik Bhattacharya, but they named him Vidyanidhi because he is Bhakti Vidyanidhi. He knows Bhakti and the path of Bhakti. And then also Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would call him Premanidhi. So these were some of the names that he was called out of affection by the devotees. When he came back to consciousness, Mukunda began to explain what happened. He thought that you were a materialistic Vaishnava and he didn't understand who you were. But then, after seeing how you responded to the verse of Śrīmad Bhagavatam and the glories of Krishna, he wants to take initiation from you. And then Mukunda began to, like Gurudev used to have us recommend. He began to recommend, this is his father, this is what he does, this is his character. And he began to show who Gadadhar Pandit is. Pundarik Vidyanidhi became so happy. He said, it is certainly my good fortune to have a disciple such as Gadadhar. And so he said, on the next Dvadasi, you should come to me and I will give you initiation. And both were so happy. Actually, Gadadhar Pandit was weeping so much when Pundarik Vidyanidhi was unconscious, was in Samadhi. At that time, Gadadhar Pandit was weeping. And when Vidyanidhi Prabhu woke up, he saw that his body had been bathed with the tears of Gadadhar Pandit. And so he took Gadadhar and began to embrace and hold him. When Gadadhar went back to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and told him what had happened, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, yes, do it quickly. Get initiated by him quickly. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur explains in his purports that in Krishna Leela, Pundarik Vidyanidhi is the father of Srimati Radhika, Vrishabhanu Maharaj. And so it is only natural that Gadadhar Pandit, who is Srimati Radhika, should take initiation from Pundarik Vidyanidhi. So all of these relationships are also being shown. And this is why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was calling him father. Father, oh, Bap, Bap means father. When I was remembering and reading this Leela the last couple of days, I was remembering our Srila Bhaktivedānta Swami Prabhupada and how one time a reporter was trying to goad him. And they were saying things to him like, oh, your disciples, they came here in buses, they came here by very menial ways. And I see that you're going to be leaving here in a Rolls Royce. How do you explain that? How do you explain that you have such an elegant kind of extravagance and they are all so meager and humble? And Srila Prabhupada didn't fall for it. He immediately said, Guru is the representation of the Lord. If the Lord himself were to come here, that car, that Rolls Royce should be made of gold. It should actually be even more as far as I am concerned. And so he was showing that we should use everything in the service of the Lord, but also we shouldn't judge how Srila Prabhupada collected all kinds of paraphernalia and he would use it in the service of Krishna. Many of his disciples would give him Rolex watches and you would see that Srila Prabhupada would wear them and then he would give it away. Okay, another one is coming here, I'll wear it and I'll give it away. He had absolutely no attachment to that. But those persons that gave it, they had attachment. What happened to the watch? I want it as prasad. So they had this kind of idea. But Srila Prabhupada wasn't attracted or attached to any kind of wealth of this world. He had the wealth of Krishna Prem. He had the wealth of service to Srimati Radhika. What does he care about dollars? Just paper of this world. It means nothing to him unless he could utilize it in the service of the Lord. So this pastime has taught us that we should be very careful. Everything about Pundarik Vidyanidhi was very high class. He never made offenses. He was always shown to be a great bhakta. He didn't take things for himself, but yet we could see that he lived what looked like a materialistic life. But we can see also with Ramananda Roy how he was serving the king and how he lived He lived in a very lavish kind of way. And he also was serving the devotees. But we understand that there is a general rule. Generally, we will see that Vaishnavas will give up so many things. But just because they don't, doesn't mean that we have the adhikar, the qualification to understand who is a Vaishnava. This is why Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and only a couple of his near and dear actually understood who Pundarik Vidyanidhi really was. So it is through the high-class Vaishnavas that we understand who the Vaishnavas are. If they will reveal themselves to us, or if Krishna himself, by some great intelligence, will give us that as a gift, then we can recognize who these Vaishnavas are. They're not doing nefarious things in this world. They're not abusing and using the bodies, the minds, and the wealth of people of this world. They're using everything 100% for Krishna. One other extremely beautiful pastime with Pundarik Vidyanidhi is that in his earlier years, he was a very close friend with Śrī Dāmodara, before Śrī Dāmodara took sannyas. And so they had a very good friendship with each other, even when Śrī Dāmodara was serving Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Jagannath Puri. So one time, Pundarik Vidyanidhi went there to Jagannath Puri, and there was going to be a big festival for Lord Jagannath. Pundarik Vidyanidhi also went there with all of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his parikar. Going there, he watched this extraordinary festival, and it's a festival of giving new cloth to the Lord, a new starched cloth. But Pundarik Vidyanidhi was watching, and he saw that they were decorating Lord Jagannath with this starched cloth without washing it. And in his mind, he was thinking, why are they doing such a thing? So after the whole beautiful festival that lasted late into the evening, he went with Śrī Dāmodara and began asking him, why are the Lord's servants dressing him in starched cloth without even washing it? We know that even if you touch starched cloth, you have to wash your hands. This is the injunction. So why aren't they following that? Śrī Dāmodara said, well, we have to understand that if they're doing it, it must be that the Lord is accepting it. We really can't question why they're doing. And Pundarik Vidyanidhi said, that may be. That may be if the Lord is accepting it, but as his sevak, shouldn't we offer what is prescribed, what is scripturally proper? And so they were going back and forth, and Śrī Dāmodara was saying, but the Lord can do anything. And Pundarik Vidyanidhi said, the Lord may do anything he wants, but should his sevaks act on that position to do anything they want? But then afterwards, they both reconciled and realized that anyway, it's all the mercy of the Lord and he can do anything. And they started to laugh and glorify. That night, he went to sleep. And all of a sudden, as he was asleep, in like a dream state, Lord Jagannath came to him. And also Baladev Prabhu was there. And it is said that Lord Jagannath was looking at him with anger. Pundarik Vidyanidhi, in his dream, got up and he was like, oh my Lord. And he was frightened. Why is Jagannath looking at me like this? And Jagannath said to him, oh, you are condemning my sevaks. He said, if you want, you can leave Jagannath Puri and you can go to that place where your high caste Brahmins are and you can follow all the injunctions of the scriptures. But I will, if I need to, I will chastise my servants. It's not for you to criticize them. And then Jagannath started to beat him. And also Baladev Prabhu came and started beating him. And he was feeling pain. Afterwards, he was begging, Krishna, save me, save me, save me from Krishna, save me from Jagannath. He was feeling elated, but he was also feeling shocked. So in the morning, he woke up and his cheeks were swollen. And he realized the Lord actually came and chastised me. That morning, later on in the afternoon, Śrī Dāmodara came and knocked on the door. Oh, Pundarik, why haven't you come to see me? It's your daily pastime that you go and you make the rounds and you come to see me early in the morning. Where are you? At that time, Pundarik Vidyanidhi opened the door and he said, oh, Swarup, because you are near and dear to me, I have to tell you what happened. At that time, Śrī Dāmodara saw that he was beaten. He looked at him and he said, "What happened to you?" And with so much ecstasy, he said, "The Lord beat me. The Lord came in my dream, and instead of giving me a pat, he gave me a slap. He started to beat me because I was criticizing his sevaks." And they both were overjoyed. Śrī Dāmodara was saying, it is so rare that the Lord himself will actually come and beat his devotee. He said it's extraordinarily rare. We don't see this in any of his dhams. We rarely see anything like this. With his queens, with anyone, he will never chastise them like this. Really, you have received such grace from the Lord. And they were both intoxicated with happiness that the Lord had given them chastisement. When I read this, I was thinking of something that happened with us. So generally, as we travel around the world, it happens to be that I can't always carry Shri Radha Vinod Bihari and Gauranga with us because they are so heavy. Not only are they heavy, all of their paraphernalia, their jewelry, their clothes, their,
5 suitcases of their...
They have a lot of things. God needs things. I don't know. So we can't always carry them with us. So like 1 year or maybe 2 years, I left them with Govinda Rupini Didi, or sometimes I would leave them with different Vaishnavas. Once I left them in Austria with Nārāyaṇa ashram. And so I've left them in different places. So 1 year, I left them with one Prabhupada disciple who happened to be an old Gurukul teacher of mine who is taking Shiksha from our Gurudev. I won't say any names. So anyway, I left them with her for about 1.5 years. And when I came back to get them, I was so excited. I'm going to see my Thakurji, my beloved lords. I was so happy. And I saw that she had packed all of their things for me. And everything looked different, but I didn't worry about it. All I thought is I'm bringing them back with me. And from now on, I'm not going to be separated from them. I need to take them with me. So we went from whatever city we were in, and we went back to California. When we were there, I decided I wanted to see all of their things, all of their clothes, and I began to lie them out lovingly. This is 20 some odd years of seva, that I just wanted to see all of their beautiful things. After Krishna wears his clothes, they're still like this. You know, his kurtas are kind of just in this pattern. Otherwise, when I iron them, they're straight. And so it's just nice to see their clothes and to hold them and to look at them. So I went to do that and I was looking at their things. And all of a sudden I was realizing so many of their outfits were completely destroyed. This devotee had cut them. Her veils were just cut. There were different kinds of jewels sticky tacked onto the very delicate silk cloth that they had. Some of the cloth was removed and some cheap polyester cloth had been put in its place. So much was actually destroyed that I could only pull together about 5 outfits that they could wear.
From what, like 40?
From like about 30 some odd outfits. So I started actually hyperventilating. I was just freaking out and I was crying. And Kishori Mohan came into the room and he looked at me, he's like, "What's wrong? What's wrong?" And I'm like, "It's all ruined. It's destroyed. Everything is destroyed. I don't understand." And I was just almost hysterical. And he was like, "Well, I don't understand, you know." So I started showing him, look, it's cut. And I couldn't understand what to do. And I was freaking out. I was angry. I was shocked. I was sad. I was horrified. I wanted to faint. I wanted to cry. I wanted to run. I couldn't understand what to do. And Kishori Mohan said, "You have to call her. You have to call her and immediately ask, why have you done this?" And I'm like, "But what can they say? What can she actually say? She can't say, oh, because this or that. That's not going to fix it. It's not going to make it better for me. I mean, if anything, it will probably make it worse." So I was thinking, maybe I have some, you know, Gurukul thing still left over that I need to deal with my teachers or whatever. I'm trying to kind of compartmentalize it and make some kind of sense of what was going on. And it took me about a month to really just kind of assimilate what had happened. And I was in America. I didn't have any cloth. I couldn't buy anything for them. It's not like you can just go to the store like here. You could just go out and anything you want for Thakurji, even pre-made clothes, which I don't use, but I could have used, you can't get there. So everything here is so favorable. Anything you need for them at any time. I need a peacock feather. Oh, Krishna needs a flute. Whatever it is, anytime. I can call a Mukitwala, a Thakurjiwala in the middle of the night and say, it's Purnima, it's midnight, Krishna needs a flute. And they would come to my house at midnight and bring a flute because they know this is an emergency. Thakurji needs something. So there I am, and I'm trying to really try to understand what it is. And at some point I understood that all of these outfits are the paraphernalia of Shri Shri Radha Vinod Bihariji and Lord Gauranga. They're not mine. They're theirs. It may have been my seva, which they accepted. They wore it on their bodies. They kept it. But they also accepted her seva. They could have made her fall asleep every time she was going to cut a garment. They could have made her forget or not even have those ideas. They could have done anything to circumvent the destruction, what I consider destruction, of 20 some odd years of seva. But they didn't. They allowed it to be done, and they wore it on their bodies. They accepted that seva. And then I had to understand that her seva is not any less than mine. Even if it wasn't done according to the way I would have done it, even if I felt it was thoughtless, she was being thoughtful of them and how she could better serve them and make them look more beautiful and make maybe She did dress them beautifully and maybe make her Thakurjis match them so that everybody was looking beautiful, and when devotees would come for programs, they would be astonished. Thakurji allowed this. It doesn't mean that her seva was less and mine was more, or mine was less or hers were more. They accepted all of it. And when I came to that realization, my anger was no longer there. I had to understand that it was their fault. It was up to them. They wanted that. And although it wasn't my style or my mood of seva, what did I have? I had all this time being in lockdown, being with a pandemic, in Vrindavan, where I can have all kinds of access to cloth, to all kinds of trim, to anything I need for their service, and I've been able to make them outfits. I've been able to serve them to the best of my capacity, whereas if we were traveling the world, I wouldn't be able to do that. I'm busy doing my other seva, which is preaching and inspiring on Gurudev's behalf, and that means if it's cooking, teaching someone how to cook, teaching how to do bhajans, like we'll do when we go to Belgium. We'll teach how to do Thakur Seva, how to do proper offerings, how to do proper dressing of Thakurji. Whatever it is, that is our function. It doesn't mean just sitting down giving a class, whether it's teaching Kirtan, whatever it might be, that is what we are doing is our Seva. So I don't generally have a lot of time and a lot of capacity to carry a bunch of cloth so that I can make outfits. So I saw that Thakurji, they realize I have my way of serving, and they've given me this opportunity to have over a year and a half or however long to serve them to the best of my capacity so that I can serve them in a loving way, in my own way, which does not negate anyone else's seva. And so when I was reading about this beautiful pastime, about the sevaks of Lord Jagannath, it again reminded me of this, that yes, the Lord is accepting all of our seva, and we may not be perfect at it. We may be really bad at it, some of us. But yet, like our Gurudev, Gugu Gaga, Gurudev sees everything, and he will petition the Lord, please accept it. Just like Srila Bhaktivedānta Bharati Maharaj, he saw that so many devotees came from the West. They didn't know anything. They were just trying to serve and trying to be with Srila Prabhupada. So they came to India and they didn't have the Panchapatra. They didn't have their, we call it an Achman pot. And they didn't use that to do their tilak. One devotee was sitting there and they put spit in their hand because they didn't have access to any water. And they started doing their tilak and putting it on. And Srila Bhaktivedānta Bharati Maharaj was saying that he was kind of like freaking out. Like, look what they're doing. Look at this. And Srila Prabhupada said, the main thing is that they have attraction. They have attraction to wearing tilak, to serving Krishna, to being in the Dham. Slowly, slowly, we will teach them all of these etiquettes. If we tell them everything now, they will lose hope. So don't mind. So this is how even Sri Guru is petitioning Krishna for us. Guru is petitioning other Vaishnavas. We might think that 30 to 50 years later we know so much, but comparatively we don't know anything. We may know more than the devotees did in the 60s, and they may know more now, but what we think we know now is absolutely nothing. So our gurus, they're so merciful. They will petition the Lord on our behalf. So we should be careful not to judge anyone else's seva, even if it isn't done to our standard. Our Gurudev would always say we shouldn't just stay with Namo Maha, what would they say? What was the offering that they would do? Namo Brahmanya Devaya. They would do that to make offerings. And Gurudev was like, okay, in the beginning this is understandable. In the 60s and 70s, okay. But after 20, 30 years, you should come up to the standard to do the proper mantras for Thakurji when you're doing an offering. We should understand these things, not stay in just a basic ideal. He said, it is okay. Just like putting tilak on with spit. Would any of us do that now? Knowing what it is, knowing how precious it is, and knowing that you don't do that on your body with spit. Now we know what is suchi, what is muchi. We know all of these things. And now we think it's commonplace to know them, but then it wasn't known. And so we should be very careful, and I know we say should a lot, but it is something we should be careful not to judge the hearts or intentions of others. If we see that any Vaishnavas are being hurt by someone or they're being abused by another, then you put your hands up and say, hey, this is not okay. Or you warn people, this is dangerous, be careful. That's one thing. That's also not judging someone. That's seeing the situation like there's a fire and people are running into the house on fire. You say, hey, don't go there. It's dangerous. You could be burnt. You can be killed in that situation. This is natural. That's love and affection. That's care. But to judge somebody for doing something harsh, that's not our place. That's between them, Guru, and Krishna. We are not the judges. If we want to be judges, Srila Prabhupada said, then we can become Yamadutas. And then we can have a suitable body so that we can judge all others. We don't want this. But it is our duty to try to protect others from dangerous situations. This doesn't mean that we are being critical of Vaishnavas and that we are judging their hearts and their intentions. Because we all have so many anarthas, and we might not be able to rid ourselves of them. And it may be that if someone has so many thorns sticking out of them, if you go to embrace them, you're going to get stabbed. So we understand we should keep some distance. Just because someone is chanting doesn't mean that they are the persons that we should be hearing from or that we should be very close to. We honor, yes, they're Vaishnavas. Yes, it's honorable what they are doing, and they have so many good things. But these anarthas, they may stab me or someone else. And so we take a monkey fight. We take some step back. This is okay. This is actually part of our process. Krishneti yashagiritam manasadriyeta, and also 6 qualities of association.
The
Tadati pratigrinyati guhyamakya, like this. They're different. We only do these very intimate things with those we want to come close to, that we can hear from, that we can serve, that are very near and dear and like-minded, that we can open our hearts and expose what is going on inside. This is very rare. So anyway, I think that I'm going to give Kishori Mohan Prabhu a chance to speak tonight, maybe about Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. I don't know who he's going to speak on. But I just wanted I like to give a little bit of a personal example of these types of dealings, because we can see them in our own lives, how we may respond to someone else, and how we can see that even in Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Leela, that it's also instructing us right here and now how we can behave. I'm not so dedicated and such a devotee that Krishna himself will come and punch me in my sleep. But yet, he gave me the intelligence to understand. Thakurji gave me the intelligence to understand not to judge another person's seva, even if it hurt my heart and it wounded me. If the Lord accepted it, that's between them and the Lord. It's not up for me to judge. I can only continue to serve them in the best way that I can, and hopefully they continue to accept it. And I think that that brought me to another space within my heart where I can be more accommodating to my God family. Rather than just becoming angry and reactionary, I was able to slowly digest it and understand. So these lessons are very applicable to us. And Sri Gadadhar Pandit and also Pundarik Vidyanidhi, they display these pastimes for us so that we ourselves can navigate this very dangerous path of maybe making offenses to Vaishnavas or even to the servants of the Lord. So thank you so much for giving me this beautiful opportunity again, another night of remembering the glorious devotees of the Lord, and for giving me a chance to remember them and reflect even in my own life how it pertains to me and how I can grow and learn and pray for that kind of mercy to be awarded to me also. And also maybe Kishori Mohan can also speak a little bit about the chastisement of the Lord. I was watching one video and I don't remember who it was, but they were the ones that said, instead of patting, you know, like, oh, you are such a good disciple, or the Lord or Guru can give a slap. And that is non-different. It is still their mercy, but a very concentrated, condensed form. And it is even more merciful when we receive the chastisements of the Lord and their devotees, but we never try to make them angry. That would be crazy. Okay. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah.
Radhe Radhe. Dandavat Pranam. I look down and the first thing I see is the Lord or Guru can give a slap. And I remembered once upon a time, where were we? Barshana, with our Srila Gurudev. And Sudevi said, you should never try to make Gurudev angry to give you a slap. But I did notice that Gurudev was trying to channel all of the devotees to go into the program. There was one temple we were going to, and he was sitting outside just waiting, and he was channeling all of the devotees in. And I saw that if anyone stopped for him, he was kind of like pushing them. And I thought, you know, let me just offer pranam first. So I offered pranam in front of him, and bah! I got a smack, and I was like, whoa, okay. So I got the slap. And one time, it was maybe 98. We were in Sri Keshavji Gaudiya Math, and it was the day of our Param Gurudev, Srila Bhakti Pragyan, Keshav Goswami Maharaj. So at that time, they were doing arti, and there was a kirtan glorifying him, and all were facing the pictures of our Param Gurudev, except for the one devotee who was playing mridanga. He was dancing and chanting, but he turned around and he had his back to Param Gurudev, and he was like, singing and jumping up and down. That was our friend Nandu. And at that moment, I could hear it in the middle of the kirtan. Thwap! It was Gurudev's hand on his back. And he was like, "Aye!" like that. And then immediately, he kind of looked like, "What's going on?" I'm like, "Turn around." Turned around, and then he was looking at Thakurji. Technically, you're not supposed to, he was looking at Param Gurudev. You're not supposed to put your back to the deities when you're in the temple. Somehow or other, there's this thing where everyone dances back and forth, and they turn around and they put their back to the deities. Back in the day when there was a king, no one would ever turn their back to the king. When the king would arrive, everyone would put their heads down. They would keep their heads down. And even with the Queen in England, you walk in, you honor her, and you back out. You don't turn your back to her. You back out of the room, but facing that personality. So I just wanted to share that. So I did get smacked once by Gurudev. I didn't know if I really would, but anyhow, there is so much mercy in receiving the concentrated anger of the Lord or his pure devotees. When Nārāyaṇa Muni became angry at Nala Kuvera and Manigriva, these were the two sons of Kuvera, the god of wealth. They were drunk, intoxicated. They were playing with apsaras, bathing in a lake. Apsaras are heavenly damsels, very beautiful, and completely absorbed in sense gratification. At that time, Nārāyaṇa Muni came in that vicinity. Immediately those girls left the water and went and covered themselves and hid behind the bushes in respect for Nārāyaṇa Muni. But those two, intoxicated by their wealth, by their birth, by their beauty, Janma, Aishvarya, Shruta, I don't know about their education, they were quite drunk at the time, but they were intoxicated with these things. These two were quite offensive toward Nārāyaṇa Muni. They were basically saying, "Why are you coming here and disturbing our fun? Bugger off." And Nārāyaṇa Muni said, "Because you are engaged like this, you're standing naked in public, then, because you are behaving like trees, you should become trees." He was a good friend of Kuvera, and he had the right, like their uncle, to chastise them. You should become trees. Immediately they started turning into trees. And they fell at his feet. "Please forgive us for our offense. We were unaware of what we were doing. Please forgive us." And Nārāyaṇa Muni said, "I've already said that you will become trees, so you must become trees. But you will be trees in the courtyard where Krishna will perform his pastimes. And Krishna himself will personally liberate you." So within that anger and that chastisement was the greatest benefit. Those trees were there witnessing all of Krishna's pastimes. Nanda Baba and others, after they would take prasad, they would wash their mouths and spit at the base of those trees. Krishna was always playing and holding on to those trees and Krishna's friends. And so many sweet pastimes took place in the courtyard of Nanda Baba. Aho bhagyam, Nanda Gopar Vrajokasam, Yan Mitram Paramanandam, Purnam Brahma Sanatana, the supreme absolute truth. As a small child, just like an ordinary child is playing in the courtyard of Baba, of Nanda Baba. How fortunate is Nanda Baba and the residents of Vrindavan. He's playing and so many pastimes are there and they witnessed all of them. And then again they received anger. First from Krishna's devotee and then from Krishna himself. How? Well, after Mother Yashoda, after great endeavor, was able to bind Krishna. She tied him up to that grinding mortar. And then it was time for Krishna to go and play with his friends. So his friends were like, "Well, bring it with you." So Krishna was dragging that grinding mortar behind. He was crawling and it was dragging behind him. And he was kind of showing off, "Look what I can do." And his friends were clapping. "Okay, yeah, let's go play." So as Krishna was crawling, the grinding mortar went in between those two trees and got jammed. As Krishna was trying to crawl forward, something stopped him. And for one moment he looked back with a little anger. What is stopping me from having fun with my friends? And in that moment, all of the rest of their anything, aparad, anartha, or anything from offending Narada Muni, any of that was burnt to ashes completely, and they were liberated. So it was that focused, concentrated glare of Krishna. What's stopping me? He looked back at those trees, and immediately they collapsed and fell to the ground, creating a loud, tumultuous sound. And from them, from those trees, came out these two beautiful, glowing personalities who offered so many wonderful prayers to Krishna, circumambulated him, and then went back to their abode. So afterward, all of the little cowherd boys were trying to explain what happened. Oh yeah, they were trying to tell the elders, yeah, Krishna pulled the grinding mortar, the trees fell down, these two glowing persons came out of the tree, they offered prayers and circumambulated. And mind you, these little cowherd boys were like 2, maybe younger, 2.5. And they're blah, 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 like this, and the elders were just like, okay, go on now, have fun, like that. So, but these two personalities, they attained an eternal position in Krishna's entourage. What is that? As Madhukanta and Snigdhakanta. Madhu means honey, and Kanta means throat. Snigdha means affection, and Kanta means throat. What are they doing? Always within the court. What is that? The Baitan of Nanda Baba. Whenever there's any discussion, these two glorify all of Krishna's wonderful pastimes, what they have witnessed. They're always...
The bards in the morning time, they'll be doing his leelas.
Yes, they're always singing his leelas. So, what great fortune. Although they received the anger of Narada Muni and the anger of Krishna, look at their fortune. So really, we should understand that even in the anger of the pure devotees or the anger of Krishna, still there is so much benefit.
Thank you. I think it's important.
So I was listening as Sudevi was speaking about Pundarik Vidyanidhi. I don't think I've ever heard so much about him in such a concentrated way, and it was quite eye-opening. So much revelation was there. Very beautiful. And she was sharing from the Acharya, Srila Bhaktivedānta Saraswati Prabhupada, Vrindavan Das Thakur, so much. And I was like, wow, so nice to hear these details about our Acharyas. Unfortunately, I have been moving. And so I have not had time to dive deeply into the pastimes of Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur.
Tell them we're moving house in like 2 days.
Or Śrī Raghunath Das Gosvāmī. Yes, maybe within 2 days we will be in a different location. No need to discuss reasons for it, but we will be in a different location. Same Thakurji, same altar. Maybe the same, not this microphone, just the little one. But anyhow, we will continue. Do you think we can continue tomorrow? Do you think we'll be able to do it tomorrow?
We're going to do it.
We're going to do it.
We're not stopping.
We are not stopping. So, something about Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is no ordinary personality. None of our acharyas are, but each one of them has their specialities, and Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur also has his speciality. His greatest gift to this Gaudiya Vaishnava lineage is his re-establishment of Parakiyavad. The conception of Parakiya means the idea of the gopis meeting with Krishna not as his wives, but as his beloveds. This is the mood of the Goswamis of Vrindavan. This is the mood that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to give. Aradhyo Bhagavan Brajesha Tanayastad Dhama Vrindavanam Ramya Kachid Upasana Vrajavadu Vargenaya Kalpita. The topmost upasana. Upasana means the method by which one serves and pleases Krishna. The topmost, according to the opinion of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, which, by the way, there is nothing beyond. This verse was written by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. Is that that mood of loving service to Krishna, that the young Brajabadhus, it means the married women of Braj, that doesn't mean they're married to Krishna, they're married to other gopis. That method of worship of Krishna is the topmost, highest method of worship to Krishna, by which Krishna is the most pleased. So Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur re-established this. After the time of Mahaprabhu, he also established this. It is there in Mahaprabhu's teachings, and then in the works of Srila Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami, especially Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. It is there in the works of our Goswamis, but after some time, due to the nature of Kali Yuga, it became covered. Who did it become covered by? Well, it became covered by someone named Rupa Kaviraj, who was cast out of the Vaishnav community by Hemlata Thakurani, who is the daughter of Srinivas. Was it Srivas Pandit? Srinivas Acharya. Srinivas Acharya. Sri Narottam, Srinivas, Shyamananda. These three personalities are the ones who were broadcasting the message of our Goswamis all over India. And by their mercy, it is still continued to be broadcast now all over the world. Wow. Through our Srila Prabhupada, our Srila Gurudev, and so many other wonderful acharyas. So she had cast him out of the Vaishnava community. Now that's a pretty heavy thing to do. Why did she do that? Because he was bending, twisting, manipulating, and going against the teachings of the Vaishnava philosophy. The same thing should be done now when anyone does the same thing. If they cannot be changed, and if they continue to try to go against the teachings of our pure Gaudiya Guru Varga, then they are not fit to be in that position. They should be distanced.
Like Param Gurudev would take people to court, and if they change, he'd be like, poof.
Our Param Gurudev Srila Bhakti Paragyan Keshava Goswami Maharaj, if he saw anyone twisting, changing, manipulating, or discarding the teachings of his Guru Maharaj, and they weren't willing or ready to change and come back to the proper path, how refining was he? He would take them to court if they wouldn't change. And then, if they would change to impress the courts, then he would say, okay, it's done. He even technically lost the court case because every change that they made, they changed again to impress the courts. So he was like, okay. Srila Bhaktivedānta Bharati Maharaj was the scribe of our Param Gurudev at that time, taking notes, presenting everything to the judges and the lawyers for the case. And our Param Gurudev technically lost the case. So Srila Bhaktivedānta Bharati Maharaj went to them and was like, we did so much work for this. Aren't you concerned that you lost the case? And he said, we didn't lose. But we lost the case. And he said, we didn't lose. They had stopped the chanting of Harinam Sankirtan publicly. Hare Krishna Mahamantra. They stopped carrying dandas and wearing sannyas vesh. They had stopped so many things that Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada, their Gurudev, gave. And they changed it. But because of the court case, all of the things that they had changed, they reversed again and started following perfectly. So, although technically we lost the case, we won because they came back to the proper teachings of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada. So this is what he considered winning. So, if someone is actually twisting and manipulating and changing the teachings of one's Gurudev and their Guru Varga, and they're not willing to come back to that or properly reconcile, or they're not able to reconcile, and the way that they are teaching, it might actually create doubt in the hearts of the disciples of Sri Guru, where they won't be able to grow in their Guru Nishtha, then this is grounds for being cast out. So Himlata Thakurani cast out this Rupa Kaviraj. And because of Rupa Kaviraj, this Rupa Kaviraj, and he's a very knowledgeable person, from him came all of this idea of caste Goswami and everything else.
Who was his guru?
I don't remember who his guru was. Maybe Ganga Narayan Chakravarti. But he had rejected the pure teachings of his Gurudev and the teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. What did Mahaprabhu show? Mahaprabhu is saying, I am not a Brahmin, naham Vipro, nacha narapati, napi vaishyo nashudro, naham varni, nacha grihapati, nova nashtho yatirva, kintu prodyan, nikila parama, nanda purnamrita bher, gopi bhaktu, padakamalayur, das anudasaha. I'm not a Brahmin, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, Brahmachari, Grihastha, Vanaprastha, Sannyas. These are all temporary designations of the body, not to do with the soul. But what is my true identity? I am the servant of the servant of the servant of that beautifully, brilliant, wonderful, beloved of the gopis, especially Srimati Radhika. That person, Gopi Bhartu. I am the servant of the servant of the servant. So from this position, Mahaprabhu showed to everyone, regardless of where they were at, bhakti is not bound to any varna or ashram. And he proved this through so many, especially that person he gave the title to, Namacharya. That is Sri Haridas Thakur. What situation was he born in? He was born into a family that would be so disrespected that if that family were to cast their shadow on a Brahmin of that time, or one drop of water, the Brahmin would have lost their caste. And yet that person who grew up in that situation had such love, such affection for Sri Harinam Prabhu, that Mahaprabhu gave him that title, Nam Acharya. Mahaprabhu is showing that the only qualification is love and affection for Krishna. It's not about age. It's not about race. It's not about sex. It's not about your varna, whether you're Brahmin, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, whether you're Brahmachari, Grihastha, Vanaprastha, or Sannyas, whether you're outcast, whether you're an animal. As Mahaprabhu was dancing through Jharikanda forest, all of the animals, the tigers and the bears and the deer, everyone were chanting the holy names of the Lord. So what is the qualification? Qualification is only according to the depth of the awakening of bhakti. And why am I saying it like that? Because internally everyone is Nitya Krishna Das. To the extent that one has awakened that, to that extent, one should be respected accordingly, as Sudevi mentioned, Shukadeva Goswami. So if we were to judge from externals and put all of these restrictions on it, this is directly against the teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And anyone claiming to be a proper follower of Mahaprabhu, and yet they're pushing all of these mundane agendas, they have been branded as Appa Sampradayas within Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita and by our Gaudiya Vaishnava Acharyas. Appa Sampradaya means against the flow of pure bhakti. What is Sampradaya?
Sambandha Gyan Prak Prem Daya to give.
Sambandha Gyan.
One of the definitions.
It's one of the definitions. Knowledge of one's relationship with Krishna. Pra meaning prem. And Daya means to give. So, from that perspective, what is giving prem with relationship to Krishna? This is Sampradaya. And what is Apasampradaya? What is based on mental concoction? What is based on bodily designation? What is based on one's birth? This is a disqualification. What is based on one's wealth? That is a disqualification. What is based on one's education? That is also a disqualification. What is based on one's bodily beauty? That is also a disqualification. Janma Aishwarya Shruta Shri. So another great, great gift of Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. Because another thing this Rupa Kabiraj was telling is that only someone who is a sannyasi can be an acharya. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur heavily refuted this. That no, this is not the case. It's not about this material external. It's about the nature of prem that is flowing in someone's heart. As Sudevi just spoke about Pundarik Vidyanidhi. Is he qualified to be Acharya?
He's qualified to be the guru of Gadadhar Pandit, who spoke to Mahaprabhu all Śrīmad Bhagavatam.
If Krishna says about Srimati Radhika, Radhika Premer Guru, Ami Shishyanata, that she is my guru of prema and I'm simply her dancing pupil. And if Pundarik Vidyanidhi or Vrishabhanu Maharaj is her guru, then how great is Pundarik Vidyanidhi? So when you take these things into consideration and these perspectives, then you understand, yes, you cannot say that only a sannyasi, only someone who's renounced externally is qualified to be a guru. Bhaktivedānta Thakur is qualified to be a guru of the entire world. Shrivas Pandit, Narottam Das, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur was also married.
But he did leave.
Yes, of course. But the point is, if someone's heart, most of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's associates were also grihastas. So we cannot say that they were not qualified to be guru. As Mahaprabhu says, who's qualified to be guru?
Acharya Haridas Thakur was not a sannyasi.
Ye Krishna Tattva Veta Se Guru Hoy. Who is conversant in Krishna Tattva? That means also they know their relationship with Krishna. Therefore, they are Tattva Darshis. This is Krishna Tattva. Who is not just conversant, but who knows Krishna. Then they can also reveal or awaken Krishna Bhakti in one's heart. So Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur refuted these conceptions with all logic and all evidence from Shastra. He was extremely learned. His name as a child was Hari Balabha, which is just beautiful, isn't it? So Hari Balabha actually is, Hari means Krishna, and who is dear to Krishna? Balabha. Who is dear to Hari?
Srimati Radhika.
Srimati Radhika.
They think you have a conspiracy to make us say Radhika's name as much as possible. It's on the thread.
You know, Gurudev said that the son of a lion is also a lion. Maybe I'm still growing, but Gurudev had this kind of thing, always chanting the name of Srimati Radhika. So who is Krishna's favorite? Who is the crest jewel of all of his beloveds? What is the meaning of Hari Balabha?
Srimati Radha Thakurani's Mahabhav Swarupini Srimati Radhika.
Yes. Well, if you say the name of Radhika enough, Krishna will become attracted and then he'll say, what can I give you? And then when he says, what can I give you? What do you say back to him? Smeraha Samurali Manohara Radhika Rasikamang Kripanidhe Swapriya Charana Kinkaring Kuru. Very, very boldly, very strongly. My Gurudev told me that I should tell you this. And he went, who's your Gurudev? Om Vishnupad Ashtotara Śrīmad Bhaktivedānta Nārāyaṇa Gosvāmī Mahārāja. Oh, okay. If Krishna asks you who your Gurudev is, say his name very boldly. Say the name of your Gurudev with as much respect, honor, and say it boldly. And Krishna will, oh, you are protected. He becomes the property of the maidservants of Srimati Radhika. Oh my God. So, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. There's one pastime wherein he was studying from Srila Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami, and he came upon Srila Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami's glorification of Kama Gayatri. And there was something about the amount of syllables that was in there. I'm not going to go into detail, but Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, although he was extremely learned, could not quite figure it out. He was desperately trying to calculate and figure it out, but he couldn't. And it was greatly disturbing him. And he wanted to be able to chant it properly with the proper understanding so that the Ishtadev of his mantra would manifest in his heart. But he was feeling, if I don't have this proper understanding, I will never be able to receive the mercy of the Ishtadev of my mantra. Therefore, what is the use of my life? That night when he went to sleep, Srimati Radhika herself came in his vision. And why am I calling it a vision and not a dream? Because dreams may or may not be real. But the vision that the pure devotee has, whether it's in a dream or whether it is in a spurti or a vision,
this is real because they are pure devotees. So they're always in touch with the supreme transcendence. So she spoke to him in this vision and explained everything to him and convinced him in such a way that what Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami has written, there is no defect. And this is also mentioned in Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita itself. Brahm, Pramara, Karanapatava, and Vipralipsa, these do not occur within the sayings of the all-perfect, all-knowing, transcendental personalities. What is Brahm? Illusion. Pramada? The tendency to make mistakes. Karanapatava, imperfect senses, and Vipralipsa, the tendency to cheat others. So these four don't occur within their sayings. That's why Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur was having a difficult time, because he knew it was perfect, but yet he was seeing something which appeared imperfect, and he could not reconcile it. So Srimati Radhika herself came and blessed him, and even in her blessing to him, she called him Vishwanath and Haribalo, both names. So from that, he was completely inspired. Srila Gurudev explained that he did intense, deep bhajan on the banks of Radha Kund. He lived to be over 100 years old. So Gurudev said most of the time he was out of external consciousness, such a deep state of absorption. But yet, he had written so many books. One book we know, Madhurya Kadambini, but he's actually famous for three main books. No, but the three main books. Ujjvala Nilamani Kiran, Bhagavatamrita Kana, and Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu Bindu. No? Kiran, Bindu, Kana. No, he's especially famous in that verse glorifying. It said these are the wealth of the Gaudiya Vaishnavas. So Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is the grand disciple, kind of Ganga Narayan Chakravarti. His guru's name is Radharaman Chakravarti. His guru is the adopted son of Ganga Narayan Chakravarti. And then Ganga Narayan Chakravarti's guru is Narottam Das Thakur. His guru is Lokanath Goswami, and his guru, well, I know that he was a direct associate of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So actually Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has written a verse mentioning all of his guru parampara like this. So Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur was one of the most prolific writers in Gaudiya Vaishnava history. And he has given commentaries, such beautiful and deep commentaries. If you read his commentaries, they're so interesting because he's going into the hearts and the thoughts of those personalities who have spoken or mentioned anything. It is written in the Shastra from thousands or millions of years before. Well, it has the commentary of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur.
And it's doing that. Arjuna says this, then Krishna says this, and the whole...
Yeah, and Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur actually brings conversations into it. Well, he has said this. So if he says this, then the question would come like this. Well, then Krishna would be thinking this. How can a personality understand and know the hearts of all for all time, past, present, and future? This in itself is proof of what Shastra says about the nature of transcendental personalities, that they are tri-kala-gya. Some people will beg to differ. Those people who beg to differ only can differ because they themselves are not of that status. But transcendental personalities, they can see all three phases of time. And not only that, tang sarva bhuta hridayam munimanatosmi, they are also within the hearts of every living entity. Therefore, they can know what they are thinking, what their thought processes are. And Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has written Sarartha Darshini commentary on the 10th canto of Śrīmad Bhagavatam. He has written commentary on Kavi Karnapur's Ananda Vrindavan Champu. He's given so much transcendental Rasik literature. Crest jewel of Rasik Vaishnavas. Another great gift of his. And we cannot say that it is directly, but indirectly, he is the guru of Balade Vidyabhushan. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is the guru of Balade Vidyabhushan. So it so happened that there were two main groups. There were the Smarta Brahmins
and there were the Gaudiya Vaishnavas. And the Smartas were saying that the Gaudiyas don't have a proper line, and they don't have a commentary on Vedanta Sutra, that they are not within Sampradaya. So they were giving their arguments, and they had influenced the king of Jaipur. Well, king of Jaipur happened to have in his care the deity, the Thakurji of Rupa Goswami. Who is that? Govindaji. Srimati Radhika came directly in the vision of Rupa Goswami and told. Actually, she came in the vision of someone in Jagannath Puri, and they were worshipping her as Satyabhama. And she said, I'm not Satyabhama, I'm Radhika. Bring me to Rupa Goswami and give me, I want to be next to Govindaji. So this person made all arrangements to bring this Radhika deity, Thakurani, to be next to Govindaji in Vrindavan. So what happened? These Brahmins convinced the king that actually Radhika is barely mentioned in any Shastra. We don't see her name in Padma Purana. We don't see her name in this place. We don't see her name really in Bhagavatam. But they're worshipping her, and she's not married to Krishna. There's been no proper marriage. So this is actually adharma. They were convincing the king that this is against dharma. So we shouldn't worship Radhika with Krishna. In essence, they wanted to separate Radha from Govinda. For any Gaudiya Vaishnava, especially those who are coming in the line of Rupa Goswami, this idea is unbearable. So at that time, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur was quite elderly, so he deputed his disciple, Baladev Vidyabhushan, to go forth and present the proof from Shastra that Radhika should be worshipped along with Govinda. They were going to separate Radha and Govinda. Radhika wanted personally to be there, and they were going to separate them. So Baladev Vidyabhushan Prabhu, the disciple of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, went to Jaipur. And there was a big assembly there. And so, from the proofs that Baladev Vidyabhushan Prabhu gave, because they were saying, you are not within Sampradaya. So he established that actually our Gaudiya lineage is coming through the line of Madhvacharya. And he gave all evidence and proof of this. You can find this in the 5 essential essays of our Gurudev. So he gave all proof of this, that we are coming in the Brahma Madhva Sampradaya, and this is our lineage. And after presenting all of the proofs, which everyone unanimously accepted, still they didn't accept because, well, you don't have a commentary on Vedanta Sutra, so you cannot be a bona fide Sampradaya. So this was also a great task of Baladev Vidyabhushan. They were going to close the meetings within a couple of days, and that would have been it. That would have been that. There are some who say, oh, actually Chaitanya Mahaprabhu made a 5th Sampradaya. Whoever says this is making a great offense to our lineage and our Sampradaya, some secret Sampradaya, some new 5th thing. Whoever's saying this has not... Huh?
I said you've even had to fight.
We've actually had to fight this. They're making an offense to our Guru Varga, to Baladev Vidyabhushan Prabhu, to Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, to all of our Guru Varga, saying that we're actually not really contained within the Sampradayas or part of the Sampradayas, but that Mahaprabhu secretly made a 5th Sampradaya. This would be smashed by all of our Guru Varga. They would never accept such a thing. They've fought so hard to establish this Sampradaya, that Gaudiya is within the Sampradaya. According to Shastra, whatever is not within Sampradaya only creates a nuisance or disturbance to society. I think the verse starts, Sampradaya Vihinaye. So, Srila Baladev Vidyabhushan prayed to Govindaji, please help me. Please help me. I cannot make a commentary in Vedanta Sutra so quickly. Because at that time the Gaudiyas understood from the words of Vedvyas himself that Śrīmad Bhagavatam is the natural commentary on Vedanta Sutra. So Baladev Vidyabhushan, he knew that. They said it, but they still would not accept it. So then he prayed to Govindaji. And Govindaji dictated everything. And he wrote it down. So his commentary on Vedanta Sutra is known as Govinda Bhashya. It means the words of Govinda. Our Srila Prabhupada dedicated his Bhagavad Gita, as it is, to Baladev Vidyabhushan.
who actually came up with that term, as it is, because it was spoken directly by Govinda. Therefore it is as it is. So he dedicated this Bhagavad Gita as it is to Baladeva Vibhushan, who presented Govinda Bhashya so nicely. You can see it right in the opening credits of our Srila Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita as it is. So from that, then they all had to accept, and it was considered, okay, we can worship Radhika with Govinda. So by the mercy of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he fought and had his disciples fight to maintain the integrity of being able to worship Srimati Radhika with Krishna and the superiority and the preeminence of Parakiya Bhav over Svakiya Bhav. So many were trying to switch it to Svakiya, married as the topmost. And they said no. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur and Baladeva Vibhushan established that absolutely not. This Parakiya Bhav is the highest conception of relationship with Krishna as established by Srimad Mahaprabhu and Srimad Bhagavatam and our Shastras. So by the mercy of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, this Parakiya Bhav was again re-established. The teachings of our Goswamis as they were re-established. If it wasn't for him, it all would have been lost. So one other thing, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, because of this, because of his strong position, and also fighting against all of this caste consciousness, and establishing the Parakiya Ras as the supreme, people became angry and upset with him. This is natural. When you tell the truth, they say truth tellers have no friends. When you tell the truth, and when you establish that truth, people who fear losing their position, their power, their preeminence or whatever, become angry, and their mood generally becomes that I want to rid the world of whoever is creating any difficulty for me. This is the nature of a demon. I am perfect, powerful, and happy. Anything that comes in my way, I will destroy it. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, this is the nature of a demon. So what did they do? They plotted to kill Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, even though he soundly defeated all of them with logic and Shastra. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur would do Vrindavan Parikrama every day early in the morning. On this day, he was doing his Vrindavan Parikrama. At that time, it wasn't like there was a nice path like there is now, although it's no longer a Parikrama path, it's a rickshaw path. But anyhow, before, even when I was little, it was beautiful, soft dust and very peaceful and so many trees. Now it's loud honking and motorcycles and rickshaws and big buildings and a cement pathway. But anyhow, still, Moraman Vrindavan, our mind and heart should be Vrindavan. So at that time, he was going through the jungles and doing Parikrama of Vrindavan. And at the place where they had plotted to kill him, they saw him there. And as they went to go close, as they were going to meet with where he was, they saw a beautiful young gopi girl with her friends picking flowers. And they didn't see Vishwanath anywhere. They're like, hey, Lali, have you seen that old man? Which way he went? She said, I have not seen anyone. What are you doing here? Oh, I'm picking flowers for my Swamini, Srimati Radhika, she said. And then in the next moment, they saw that she was no longer there and Vishwanath was there. And they realized, oh, he is no ordinary personality. They had plotted to kill him, but just by having darshan of that, yes, they can give us darshan even though we might be unqualified. By that darshan of that young gopi girl, who is non-different, who is Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur in Krishna Lila, all of their anarthas and inebrities and everything were completely dispelled. And then when they saw Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur standing before them, they all fell at his feet and begged forgiveness and begged for shelter. So Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is no ordinary person. It is said that when he was in Radhakund, in deep absorption, remembering the beautiful pastimes of Sri Radha and Krishna at that time,
Who manifested to him? This beautiful Thakurji Gokulananda. And so that Gokulananda has been established. He's very small. When you look at like, oh, which one's Radha Gokulananda? They said, oh, that little one, Gokulananda, like this, maybe 6 inches.
I think he used to wear it, right?
I don't remember that detail. And his Samadhi Mandir is there also in the courtyard of Gokulananda.
Next to Narottam Das Thakur and Lokanath Das.
Next to Narottam Das Thakur and Lokanath Goswami, and so many others. So, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, it is said that he lived, actually yesterday we were honoring his disappearance day. We did not sing Jaya Anilo Premadhana. But it said that he lived to be about 100 years old. And around this time, in 1574, he disappeared from our vision in this world. So Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Gurudev, at Radha Gokulananda temple many years before, he spoke. Sudevi remembers it.
Many remember.
I remember it. So many remember it, what he said at that time. He said Srila Rupa Goswami came and he established Parakiya Ras. Because this was his function. Mahaprabhu wanted him to establish this highest conception of love and affection for Krishna. He said after some time, then it became lost. Then again, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur came and re-established this Parakiya Ras. Again and again, our acharyas have said, and our Gurudev has said, that Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is a non-different manifestation of Srila Rupa Goswami. I just wanted to reiterate this point, that he's like Rupa Goswami come again. Non-different manifestation of Rupa Goswami. There are even verses glorifying Vishwanath, saying that he is the manifestation of Rupa Goswami. So Srila Gurudev was sitting there, or Sudevi remembers him standing. Anyhow, we were there in that courtyard. And Srila Gurudev said, Rupa Goswami came and established Parakiya Ras. After some time, it became lost. Then again, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur came and he re-established this Parakiya Ras. Again, after some time, it has become lost. It had become lost. And I remember this very clearly because what Gurudev said next just completely shocked me. My hair stood on end. I was like, Gurudev said, and now I have come.
You have to explain that Prabhupada and everyone wanted to give.
Gurudev came with a particular speciality. And I want to make the point at this point in time that all of our Gaudiya Vaishnava Acharyas who are true Rupanuga Vaishnavas are capable of giving this, because that is their nature. Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Gosvāmī, Raghunath Das Goswami, Jiva Goswami, Gopal Bhatta Goswami, Raghunath Bhatta Goswami, who did I miss? I think I told. Lokanath Goswami, Narottam Das Thakur, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Bhaktivedānta Thakur, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada, so many of his stalwart disciples, our Srila Prabhupada, our Param Gurudev Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Mahārāja, our Gurudev, so many. They all have that same nature. Maidservants of Srimati Radhika in Vrindavan. So they're all capable and qualified to give that. But, as I told the other day, each one has their own speciality in terms of what they are doing. As I mentioned, if you're running a festival, each person needs to take their roles to make the festival manifest and flow appropriately. It's not that the one who's speaking is not qualified to do the kirtan, or the one that's doing the kirtan is not necessarily qualified to speak. All of them are qualified in all of those services. But each one of them had their own particular functions, and not all of them revealed all of these things so openly. But our Srila Gurudev mentioned that Rupa Goswami came and established this. It was lost after some time. Then again, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur came and established this Parakiya Ras. Again, after some time, it was lost. And now I have come. So he came to re-establish that same thing that Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur and Rupa Goswami came to establish. And we have seen this practically. We have seen it practically. You can see in what he has given. There's nothing inappropriate or wrong. It is beautiful and full of ras and bhav. all of these transcendental moods have been given so deeply, so sweetly, and so succinctly. So, succinctly. So on this day, remembering the mercy of Srila Gurudev and the mercy of Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur and Srila Rupa Goswami particularly, I am praying in the dust of the lotus feet of Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, who is known as Rasik Shiromani, the crest jewel of Rasik Vaishnavas, that may he manifest within our heart a greed for always hearing about the sweet pastimes of Krishna, and not just hearing about them, entering into them and serving them. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur ki jai, Srila Gurudev ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Rupanuga Guru Varga ki jai, Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Pundarik Vidyanidhi ki jai, and Raghunath Das Goswami maybe tomorrow. Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Gaura Premanande Hari Hari Bo. What's the time?
It's time.
Oh, I feel like we have to run to Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's Samadhi again. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna,
Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Nitai Gaura Premanande, Hari Hari Govinda Damodara Madhaveti, Govinda Damodara Madhaveti, Govinda So thank you all very much for being with us today and giving us the opportunity to remember the beautiful teachings of our Gurudev and our Guru Varga, and also to specifically remember the glories of these transcendental divine personalities, Śrī Pundarik-Vidyanidhi and Śrīla Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. We also cannot express our appreciation enough to each and every one of you. We are actually indebted for you daily giving us the opportunity to follow the order of our Gurudev and do this seva, which is our life and soul. We look forward to being with all of you tomorrow. Dandavat pranam.
Dandavat pranam.
Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.
Radha Vino Bihari Ju ki jai. Sachidananda Gaura Hari ki jai.
Śrī Dāmodarāṣṭakam. Radhe Radhe. Hari Bo.